My name is Johnson Ellis, and I've been working at this cemetery for 32 years. In my time here, I've witnessed graves vandalized, exhumed, and even swallowed by storms, but I've never seen one truly disappear. Not just the stone, but the entire plot, gone without a trace, even with the records intact. Then days or even years later, it reappears somewhere else, with the same name and dates of birth and death. Take the case of Alice Benton, Savannah's vanishing girl. Every time her grave returns, something strange follows. It's the story of a grave that simply refuses to stay buried. The first time it happened, back in early spring of 1994, I thought I was losing my mind. I was still new to the job then, only 3 years in, and I was doing my rounds with old Mr. Delaney, the keeper before me. We were surveying headstone wear for seasonal repairs. Plot 1, 38B. Alice Benton wasn't where it should have been. We both remembered it. White marble marker, little lamb carving on top, child's grave gone, the grass where it had been undisturbed. No shovel marks, no substance. The plot identified as 209D, on the northeast edge of the cemetery, was empty, just clean earth. Our records still listed the deceased, Alice Benton, as interred there, and the log showed no removal that night. Delaney, quiet, chain-smoked 3 cigarettes, staring at the tree line. 2 weeks later, a grounds crewman alerted me. "Hey boss," he said, "this grave Alice Benton shouldn't be here." Indeed, there she was, same headstone, same lamb, yet we had never moved her. This was the first, but not the last, such occurrence. Approximately a year after this initial incident, sightings began. Visitors frequently mentioned a small girl in white, walking barefoot and silent, always near the tree line. Some thought she was just a mourner's child, but every description matched: long white dress, auburn curls, pale skin, and always near wherever Alice's grave had recently appeared. Then in 1997, a woman named Cynthia told me something I haven't forgotten. She came by to visit her husband's grave, said she saw the girl kneeling at a stone. She walked over concerned, but when she got close, the girl stood, turned and vanished right there into thin air. She swore she wasn't dreaming. I took her to the logbook, asked her to show me the stone. She pointed at the Benton grave. Alice had just moved again 2 weeks prior. Every haunting has an origin. Alice Benton was buried here in 1872, 7 years old, died of fever. The record says no family buried nearby, no obituary in archives, but she was real. We found the death certificate. The strangest part, the original record showed she was buried in Section A, which no longer exists. That part of the cemetery was paved over during expansion in 1919. Alice's name was one of 13 graves lost in transition, so how is she still moving? In 2004, we had a historian named Darrell Copes investigate. He found something odd. Alice's name showed up in 2 cemeteries in Savannah, ours in one across town, same DOD, same epitaph, but only one body was ever interred that we know of. Alice's gravestone exhibits a perplexing phenomenon. Its crest repeatedly changes. Initially, a lamb was carved above her name. However, in 2010, following a relocation attempt, $4C, the lamb vanished, replaced by a dove. 2 years later, a rose appeared, and today, the lamb has returned. No one is known to alter it. The stone has been photographed and catalogued, yet it updates autonomously. Some theorize that the crest reflects the circumstances of Alice's death, suggesting she seeks an undiscovered truth. Perhaps she was poisoned or mistreated, and her death wasn't due to fever. This raises the question, who is moving the grave, and why? In 2016, a private investigator, hired anonymously, submitted a formal request to verify Alice's burial. He wanted an exhumation, but when we arrived at the latest location plot, 045E, something was off. The plot was there, but the ground hadn't been disturbed in decades. No casket beneath, no vault, no remains. We scanned, dug down 3 feet, nothing. It was like she'd never been buried there at all. 2 weeks later, the grave reappeared, plot 088, again untouched. We never heard from that investigator again. I hesitate to tell this next part, because it sounds impossible, but in 2021, during a thunderstorm, I went out to check for downed limbs. As I passed plot 023, Alice's grave stood in the rain, same lamb, same carving, but something dark was running down the stone. I initially dismissed it as rust or runoff, but wiping it with my sleeve revealed a thick, sticky red substance, blood. I stood there, drenched and motionless, watching it ooze from the nameplate. By morning, it had vanished, the stone clean. I kept silent about it. Yet 2 days later, a teenage boy visiting a relative collapsed near that very plot, suffering a seizure, despite no prior medical history. He recovered, and when questioned, he recalled a little girl in white, who claimed to be lonely. I've abandoned attempts to fully explain Alice Benton, but I have theories. I believe the spirit she carries is linked to displacement. She wasn't properly interred, and she's trying to return somewhere, perhaps her original grave or her mother's family. Maybe she wasn't meant to be buried at all. The movements always occur during storms, electrical outages, or anniversaries of her death, and every time something unexplainable happens, a shattered vase, a voice on the wind, a missing name in the log, something always breaks. 3 weeks ago I retired, packed up my things, said my goodbyes. But yesterday, a package arrived, no return address, inside a photo, black and white, faded a cemetery, but not ours, and in the corner barely visible the stone, Alice Benton, plot number scrawled on the back, 138B, the original, the one that started it all. I still don't know who Alice Benton really was. I don't know why she keeps moving, or who keeps moving her. But I know this, some graves refuse to be forgotten, some names echo long after their last breath, and some stories, they were never meant to stay buried. Hello friends, thank you for watching. A special shout out to our subscribers. You keep these eerie stories alive, but here's the thing, only 30% of viewers are subscribed. If you enjoy our content, hitting subscribe helps us more than you know. It takes a second, but makes a huge difference while you're at it. Like and share to keep the chills coming. Thanks again, you made this possible. See you in the next one, if you dare. Every Halloween, without fail, a perfect black circle appears on the grass just beyond the hill. It's always the same size, with 5 identical scorch marks around its edge. There are never any footprints, tracks, or heat signatures, and despite our efforts to reseed it, it always returns to the exact same spot on October 31st, precisely at midnight. No one, not firefighters, scientists, or clergy, can explain the burnt circle of Hartsville. I first saw it on Halloween morning, 1998. Back then, I was a 21-year-old college kid, working part-time groundskeeping, usually hungover. I arrived early to rake leaves before trick-or-treaters slipped through the gate, and there it was, charred grass in a perfect circle, 10 feet across. Around its edges were 5 deliberate black marks, like claw prints, or smaller, intentional bonfire spots. I thought it was vandalism, but there were no cans, no torches, no tire marks, just silence. By noon, word had spread. The sheriff came, so did local news. They roped it off, took samples, ran heat readings, no radiation, no chemical traces, just scorched earth, no fire ever seen. And then it happened again, the next year. Same spot, same pattern, same silence. We installed a camera in 2003, infrared wide angle, motion sensitive. We let it run from sunset to sunrise on Halloween. At 1:59, the feed was normal, wind in the trees, a raccoon scurrying by then, static exactly 17 seconds of it. When the feed came back, the grass was burned. Circle 5 points, like it had never not been there. No motion detected, no flames, no tampering. 17 seconds gone. We replaced the equipment every year, switched providers, ran generators, same result, 17 seconds of nothing, every time. In 2007, a visitor snapped a photo of the scorched ring just after dawn. She didn't look at it until days later. When she did, she swore there was a shape in the burn pattern, a shadow, not cast, but embedded in the grass itself. She sent it to me. I still have the print. It looked like a child's figure, arms raised, not waving, more like reaching. She never came back. 2 years later, I saw it too. Not a figure this time, but a smell burnt paper, and old wood, and a sound low humming, like something under the dirt. Only on Halloween night, only when I was alone. The center of the circle always stays dry, even after rain. You can dig into it, but nothing grows back. No worms, no roots, no life. I took soil samples once, sent them to UT for analysis. They wrote back, "This isn't scorched earth, it's sterilized down to the microbe." Sterilized, like something had burned every trace of living matter without fire. But why, and why? That exact spot I went through, old cemetery records, plot 87B. Officially, it's listed as unused, but there's a deed bought in 1897 by a man named Nathaniel Bragg. intended for his son Thomas, age 7, died of unknown fever. There's a burial listed in the paper, but no headstone, no exhumation ever recorded, no physical evidence. He's down there. Some say Thomas was never buried at all. Others say he was buried but not properly, that he was part of a binding ritual used in early folk traditions, not to honor the dead, but to trap them every Halloween. It's the same 5 scorch marks around the circle. In 2010, a local folklorist visited Miss Adeline Sharp. She brought old Appalachian books and GR Wars, looked at the pattern and said, "This is a seal, a holding place, 5 points like chains, not to summon, to contain." Her words stuck with me, a fire ring that contains something until the barrier breaks, or until it's allowed to leave. She never returned either. Last year, I stayed past midnight alone, standing just 20 feet from the circle. As the clock struck 12, with no thunder or wind, I heard it, 5 soft thuds, like footsteps, but sounding as if they were coming from within the ground itself. Then a low, dry electrical crackle. The circle ignited, not with fire, but with a red light, something colder. Just as quickly, it went dark again. There it was, the scorched ring, as if I'd blinked and missed the moment. But I hadn't. I saw it. Something moved in the center, a crouched shape, watching, then gone. Yet people still sneak in. Some leave offerings, some whisper prayers, and some simply stand there. Every Halloween, like clockwork, it returns. The grass burns, the points ignite, the center waits. I don't know if it's trying to get out, or if it's protecting us from what's already in. If you ever pass through Hartsville Cemetery on Halloween, and you feel the ground hum beneath your feet, don't step in the circle. Whatever it is, it remembers. In the heart of New Orleans, among sun-scorched tombs and crumbling angels, lies a sealed vault. The last body was laid to rest here in 1923. No one's been in or out since, and yet visitors keep hearing it. A low, broken cry from within. No speakers, no wildlife, no logical source, just weeping, soft, sad, unrelenting. This is the story of the crying vault of Lafayette Cemetery. Number 1, Lafayette Cemetery. Number 1 isn't just a graveyard, it's a relic, a city within a city, built in 1833. It was one of the first planned cemeteries in New Orleans, built above ground where the water table wouldn't swallow the dead. I've walked its rows since I was 23, first as a caretaker, then historian, then something in between. You get to know the tombs, the faces, even the names etched so deep into stone that moss gives up trying to hide them. The vault in question sits in the northeast quadrant, marble facade, cracked arch above the door. The Devereaux family vault, marked with its bold name, had been sealed for decades. Yet, as time wore on, an unsettling shift occurred in its long-standing silence. The first credible account I received was from Sister Marianne, a composed nun in her 60s, not easily flustered. Each year on October 11th, the anniversary of her brother's burial nearby, she would visit. One year, after her customary visit, she appeared in my office, pale and subdued. She described hearing a child's distressed weeping emanating from within the Devereaux vault. She even placed her hand against the stone, claiming it felt warm. Despite the vault having been undisturbed for almost a century, and certainly empty, she was not the last to report such an experience. In the years since, I've documented 27 separate accounts of the same sound, a low echoing cry, always from the same vault, always around dusk. The Devereaux were once prominent. Pierre Devereaux, a wealthy landowner, his wife Claudine, their only child Eloise, buried at just 10 years old, pneumonia. The records say October 11th, 1874. That date, again the last interment, was Claudine herself, 1923. No more children, no heirs, no surviving family. But something strange happens. When you mention Eloise's name near the vault, it gets quiet. Even birds go still. One tour guide swears a photo taken in front of the vault caught a misty shape beside the door, small, childlike and blurry. She later deleted the recording, feeling it was wrong to keep. Despite numerous attempts by paranormal groups, acoustic engineers, skeptics, and audio specialists to debunk the phenomenon, their equipment, recorders, thermal scanners, EMF readers, never detects anything out of the ordinary. There are no hidden speakers, no animal traces, and no air movement to explain the vibrations, yet the sound persists. Scott Lapierre, an engineer, privately confessed to me that he heard a sound, not mechanical, not explainable, and definitely not right. He wouldn't confirm it was a child's voice, but he never returned to the cemetery. While you can measure temperature and map acoustics, how do you explain data that shows nothing wrong when your soul tells a different story? About 5 years ago, I arrived before sunrise to unlock the front gate. I found a woman mid-30s, kneeling in front of the Devereaux vault. I approached carefully. She was sobbing. When I got close, she stood up fast, looked confused, like she didn't know how she got there. I asked if she was all right. She only said I heard her. She was crying, so I cried with her. Then she left no name, no record of entry. I checked the gate log. No one had opened it, and yet her footprints led straight to the vault in 2020. The city inspected the vault during routine preservation assessments. Sealed tight, no cracks, mortar intact inside. Records confirmed, 3 coffins, all listed, no space left, but the inspector noted one oddity: traces of moisture inside the vault, only in one corner near the child's casket. He couldn't explain it. No leak in the roof, no groundwater, just a small dark stain like tears on limestone. Every October 11th, the air around the vault gets heavier. Tour guides steer clear of that particular path. Locals, without prompting, leave white flowers. One year, a 10-year-old boy became separated from his class during a tour. He was later discovered sitting cross-legged in front of the vault, humming a lullaby. He recounted how a girl in a lace dress told him not to cry. He couldn't recall the date or her name, but his detailed description of her dress matched the one worn by Eloise in the sole surviving photograph we possess. Not all hauntings are violent. Some simply seek to be acknowledged. I believe Eloise cries a wound resonating through time, perhaps grief, perhaps loneliness. Maybe she just wants someone to remember. That vault hasn't been opened in over a century, yet the sorrow within it has never truly been sealed. So should you ever visit Lafayette Cemetery No. 1 and feel a breeze in still air, or hear a faint sob just beyond the stone, do not flee. She isn't seeking fear, only to be remembered. Every October 3rd, the angel cries one headstone, one woman, one date. The carved angel on her grave sheds a single stream of water from its eye. Not rain, not condensation, not a trick of light or plumbing. Real moisture, every year, same time, and no one geologists, sculptors, priests, has ever found a cause. This is the story of the headstone that weeps. It began in 1991. That's the first year anyone recorded it. I'd just taken over this cemetery in central Vermont. Small town, quiet, the kind of place where nothing weird ever really happens. But that morning, an elderly man, Mr. Lowell, called me over, said I had to see it for myself. I followed him through the rows, until we reached her. Margaret Easley died 1933, age 42. Her headstone bore a carved angel wings, folded eyes downcast that day. A single tear tracked from the angel's right eye, not stained into the stone. Wet, fresh, clear water glistening in the early sun. I touched it. It was cold. There'd been no rain, no dew, and by noon it was gone. The following year, I checked same date, same grave, same tear, and again the next, and the next. I started keeping a journal. Each year, October 3rd, between 6:30 and 7:15 a.m., the tear would form from the angel's right eye. Never the left, always just one. The enigma of Margaret Easley's tombstone remained, despite investigations spanning years, involving videographers, a geologist, and even a local priest. By 2000, no explanation surfaced for the perpetually damp stone. Its non-porous nature, absence of waterlines or drainage, and lack of correlation with weather patterns deepened the mystery. Margaret Easley, neither famous nor wealthy, simply vanished, yet her angel seemingly never forgot. My inquiry into her past revealed Margaret Easley as a lifelong piano teacher in town, unmarried, childless, and a victim of tuberculosis. Her sister handled the burial. A singular discovery, however, stood out: her diary, donated to the Historical Society. It contained unsettling entries about angelic visitations during her sleep. One particular entry read, "She stands at the foot of my bed, beautiful but never smiles. I always wake up crying." The final entry preceding her death was stark: "I can't breathe anymore. I'm sorry, Anna. I'm scared to go alone." After this, nothing. In 2009, I engaged the University of Vermont, who dispatched 2 hydrologists to analyze the site. They set up humidity sensors, soil saturation probes, infrared cameras. They tested the angel's surface, even scanned the grave beneath. Verdict: no known mechanism for moisture accumulation, no condensation, no leaching, no groundwater pressure. In other words, it shouldn't be possible, but it still happened. The tear appeared at 6:43 a.m. They watched it form. They took a sample, sent it to 3 different labs. The result: pure water, sterile, no minerals. One year a visitor named Alice came from Pennsylvania. She'd heard about the grave online. She arrived just before dawn, hoping to see it. She stood quietly as the tear formed. Then, without asking, she touched it. Almost instantly, she began to cry, not soft tears, sobbing, knees to the ground. She whispered, "I know how she felt. I know later." She told me she didn't know why she said it, just that when she touched the tear, she felt loneliness, deep, unrelenting, like something reached into her chest and pulled the sorrow forward. She never returned. In 2016, Father Bellamy, a good man grounded in his beliefs, arrived to bless the site. Initially skeptical, he stood before the grave, just after sunrise. A tear formed in his eye, and he appeared pale and shaken. He then whispered a blessing and backed away, later confiding that it wasn't grief from the living, but grief from the soul. Some spirits, he suggested, don't seek vengeance. They simply remember. He believed the angel wasn't crying for Margaret, but with her. In 2018, the town received a grant to repair aging headstones. A crew attempted to move Margaret's headstone for stabilization, but within an hour, a crew member collapsed, claiming the stone was too hot. The marble measured 103. One came on a 56-degree morning. They postponed the move, and the following, October 3rd, no tear, just a crack down the angel's cheek. We never tried moving it again. The next year, the tear returned, same time, same side, but now it trails down the crack. I've come to believe not all hauntings are loud. Some don't scream or throw things. Some just mourn. Margaret Easley never had children. She left no descendants, but somehow a single carved angel remembers her pain. The water isn't rain, it's sorrow distilled, a soul, reaching out year after year, so we don't forget what it feels like to leave this world alone. If you ever visit Vermont, in early October, go early, stand still, watch the stone, and if the angel weeps while you're there, don't look away. Some tears deserve to be seen. He's always there, same day, same hour, tall, thin, dressed like he stepped out of the 1800s, top hat, black coat, gloves, and he only visits one grave unmarked. No name, no dates. We've installed cameras, walked the perimeter, no car, no entrance, no footprints, just a man who mourns and vanishes. This is the story of the unknown mourner. On October 17, 2004, I first encountered him. While trimming hedges in Section C, I observed movement beyond the cedar trees. A man, unusually tall and still, stood alone at an old plot. His attire, a black tailcoat, top hat, and polished shoes, was too perfect for a reenactor, and too out of place for the living. I watched him for 5 minutes. He neither moved nor turned around. By the time I circled closer, he had vanished. No one else was on the grounds, and the camera footage showed only flowers. He left behind fresh black lilies, but there was no tag or cellar. The grave he frequents is unlisted, lacking a name or headstone, just a flat stone marker with coordinates noted in our old ledger. Plot 9B. It lies beneath a twisted oak. No nearby family, no records of recent visitation, but every year on October 17th, he returns same time around 10:07 a.m., stays for exactly 11 minutes, then vanishes. We installed cameras in 2010, 3 angles, motion-activated infrared set to record the entire graveyard from 9 to 11 a.m. each year.
Static, not on the whole feed, just the footage around.
Plot 9B. A full blackout, roughly 11 minutes long. When it returns, the man is gone, but the flowers placed neatly. We changed cables, changed vendors, added a backup battery system. Nothing worked. I searched through the archives. Plot 9B was originally part of the Briarfield family section, a prominent land-owning family, in the 1800s. One record mentioned to Josephine Briar, Field, age 22, died October 17, 1853. No cause of death. Listed rumors at the time claim she was buried in disgrace, pregnant out of wedlock, disowned grave, left unmarked. A name was scribbled beside hers in the town ledger, J.D. No surname. That was all. Some say Josephine died of fever. Others say heartbreak. In 2016, after his visit, I found something unusual. A black glove left on the stone. I took it in, wrapped it in plastic, and sent it to the state lab. An old friend of mine works there. The results: wool hand-stitched, no synthetic fibers, date estimated mid to late 1800s. Impossible, but there it was. I still keep it locked away. Sometimes the fingers feel cold. 2 years ago, a visitor named Olivia came to visit her grandfather's grave in Section C. She returned to the office pale and shaking. She said she saw a tall man in mourning clothes standing at the oak. She thought he was a reenactor and said hello. He turned, nodded once. His eyes, she said, were glassy, deep-set like looking through water. He raised his hat, whispered, "I never left her." Then he walked behind the tree. She followed, but he was gone. Last year I tried something new. I laid fresh ash around the base of the oak, a thin layer just enough to catch prints. At 10:07 that morning, the feed went static. It returned at 10:18, revealing an undisturbed grave. However, the ash surrounding it held 5 crisp boot prints. Their design, pointed toes, heels worn inward, suggested a 19th century origin. These prints led to the grave, but none led away. There were no tire marks, no scuff trails, just his final steps. I've stopped trying to prove his existence. He remains the unknown. Mourner isn't a traditional ghost. He's not frightening and never speaks. He simply appears every year, in the same place, at the same time. Perhaps he made a promise, or maybe he's trapped in a moment of loss, or perhaps love doesn't always end with death. Some connections leave an imprint, others leave footsteps. This October 17th, I'll be there again, not to catch him, not to chase him, but to remember what it means to mourn someone so deeply you'd return for over a century, not as a ghost, but as a man who kept his vow. Thank you all for joining me on these journeys. Your support means everything, and I love reading your reactions and personal experiences in the comments. If these stories kept you on the edge of your seat, or gave you chills, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more haunting stories. Have you ever experienced something similar, or perhaps you have your own unexplainable story to share? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Your stories continue to build our community of horror enthusiasts. Share this video if you know someone who enjoys a good scare. Stay tuned for more spine-chilling stories. And remember, the most terrifying tales are often the ones that could happen to anyone. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, if you dare.